Hello, everybody. Welcome again. This is RP Grizzly, aka Aaron Dowdy, coming back for my second game dev little, what is this? Game dev post video blog. Bleh. I'm really the way you guys came out for. I mean, my channel has very little reach right now, so the amount of views we got, I'm very impressed. All right, so you guys are into this, and I like to hear it. Now, I had a lot of personal stuff this weekend that stopped me from doing as much game dev as I'd like. I'm going to show you the disaster that happened because when you don't have a lot of time and you try to rush things, bad stuff happens and you make stupid decisions. And this is the thing about game dev. It's like it's a 3 steps forward, two and a half steps back kind of thing, and you get a half step closer to your goal every time. And sometimes you'll even have days where you're like, bam, like 5 steps ahead and no steps back. It feels great. And then you have days where it feels like you're backtracking. But you know what? That's what persistence is for. Age is giving me that, and less hair. That might have been my children giving me the less hair thing, but that's reality. So I'm gonna let you guys see the the accidental nightmare I've created in trying to make a weapon system for the character to pick up objects off the ground, starting with weapons, but obviously any object out there. We all like that. Come on, Elder Scrolls was fun when you could just pick up a bunch of stuff and throw it at people. I get it. It's good times, and it's a nice foundation for the combat system and how weapons work. So check out the disaster, and then come back here and we'll talk about lore for a little bit since that's the other thing that's ready to go. All right, bye. All right, hello everybody. We're here to show you the disaster and why game design can take so long sometimes, as my previous self has told you. Yeah, right. You remember this part? Yep, playing it or whatever. Right, look at it all work. Look, the sword bounces. Right, okay, we got all that, and now we have a couple swords that spawn here. All well and good. Seems great. And then this. I don't. Why is his arms like that? Oh, even better! We have a complete blueprint error. We are now floating children. But we're first person floating, baby. Look at that. Can I sprint? Nope, can't sprint. Now, we're supposed to pick these up. That doesn't happen. As you can see, abject failure for the pickup weapon system, which is funny because I've actually done this before without the T-posing nightmare. So, these are part of the reason why game development can take so freaking long. 3 steps forward, two and a half back, but it's those baby steps that get you forward. So I hope you could see, if it wasn't for a lot of the personal stuff that I dealt with this week, we would still have this system up and running. I just don't have time to actually grind through and figure out what went wrong exactly. I think I'm actually going to start a new project and migrate what I need over and start over. Start over only this system. I don't have to start the whole thing over, thank God. The beauty of migration. Unless, of course, you guys like T-posing everywhere. It's a lot of fun. It's not quite a T-pose. It's more like a gorilla. Yeah, more like a... Anyway, that was a fun mistake. Take it back. We'll go back talking about the lore. But don't worry, next week we'll get the sword in his hand. We'll start working on combos, and it's an actual whole weapon system, so like multiple weapons to choose from in attachment points. They're physicalized, which also works for other props and items. You can't quite see it because the sword's being stubborn, but I'll show it real quick. Great, we'll remake the dungeon one more time. You'll see this. Yep, see the swords fall. They are they are physicalized. So you can imagine, now we can do just like in all those other scroll games with a bunch of physicalized props that you guys can screw around with. Alright, back to the lore. Oh, now back to the lore. Alright, you're back. I hope you enjoyed the hilarity of the Gorilla Man. I, you know, I wish I had a little more time to get you guys something a bit more refined. Like, I will fix that. I've had similar issues in the past. I kind of already know what's wrong. And I just, I might even start a new project in Unreal and migrate what I need over just because sometimes when you mess with the GASP stuff, it can be a nightmare to fix. So, don't you worry. Next week we'll we may I don't know how much time we'll have next week, but I'm gonna put some time in. We'll at least get the whole getting the weapons in the hand, a little bit of the animations in, hopefully starting animation into some sword combat. I already have some ideas for some messing around with some early enemies to fight and whatnot. We're going to start with the longsword, as I brought up before, because Hima's cool. Now, in the meantime, I thought I'd also bring some lore into this, because you know, part of what Elder Scrolls was a world to enjoy the RPG element with. Like that's was their idea with Arena and everything. Like they wanted to make a world that you could explore with their RPG mechanics. And without the world, I can make a pretty good solid game, but you're gonna wonder what the lore was about. The lore will bring you back and want to explore more and give more meaning to the hack and slash and all the stabby stabs and the pew pews and the all the other stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about the lore and what world you guys will actually be exploring as we go on. Now, the first part I always talked about is going to be kind of a backrooms affair, but with a Venice fantasy flair. And the enemies like that are, there'll be a cosmic library to explore, endless geometry, and unspeakable horrors to fight in the background. But the world itself, though, each group, race, whatever, has a different name for it. It's a world that was created. If we go into the primordial Christian Bible, my Bible being a Christian man, we have this situation where the sons of God fall away from man and follow the devil into rebellion. But I had always wondered what would happen if some of them had not rebelled and what kind of things would happen. So the idea is three of them do not rebel, and as a reward, they're given a fresh new world with talismans with God's power imbued into them, so that they could create the world in His image, in their image, and create something beautiful for heaven. And overjoyed they go about doing it. But in the midst of all their labors, they are under constant assault from the devil and his minions and all the fallen sons of God and ancient lurking evils in the primordial deeps that keep coming after this new creation. Their immense jealousy over those who refuse to join them in rebellion fuels the constant assault. See, while Earth in the Christian world is a rebellious world, this world, the Greek Empire, the ones that we won't get into them as much in this game. There'll be future games to talk about them called Xenodithion, right? Is a world under siege by evil. Not already consumed, but under siege. So, the constant breaking of the veil and tunnels and all the rest has made it a high point for lost species and groups and humans and all sorts of stuff stuck in the backroom type areas, the tunnels of woe, as we call it in this universe, a place for them when they do find their way out, often end up in this world, giving a huge variety of different races to work with, as the groups from a bunch of different worlds that are uh, beset by the hostile sons of God that have rebelled against the Lord of Heaven, are constantly trying to kidnap, enslave, and turn their souls into more power for themselves, and so a bunch of them have ended up on the same world. And we get to have in that a couple of empires. The one we're going to follow are the Veni, which is a group of Venetians who get lost in the back rooms on their galleys while transporting goods and fighting the Turk, and they end up listening to the song of the God Tree, the primordial continent-sized tree, the last of its kind in the Great Wars around Xenodithion, where, yeah, I know, it's a bit of a mouthful. I was going with Greek with that one. We'll come up with something a bit more sing-songy and flowy for the Veni name for the continent, for the world, that is. And this is sort of the base. Bear with me, I'm no artist, okay?
And I'm trying to get AI to help me out with this. Obviously, I have no money to get a real artist to work with it, but I hope this kind of gives you guys an idea with what we're going for. The kingdom that you'll be playing in, the kingdoms or empire, whatever I think it shows up there, is in the highest trough, if you will, of the tree. Not the branches, right below that. If you've seen a lot of these more tropical trees, for example, I grew up around them in Nicaragua. They have this almost like spot where the biggest branches are coming out of its out of the trunk, and then you have all these leaves and stuff on the top. And on here is right where the Veni have made their imperial land or their big, massive, sprawling kingdom, having uh, very few things to check their growth in the area due to the fact that the god tree has protected them. Now, the god tree is has a kind of a mutual beneficial relationship with the humans that it allows the rest there, but there are many things that want it and its children, the seeds, because they are quite powerful for magical reasons, and thus the sort of bargain is the Veni protect the seeds of the god tree in the hopes that a new forest of the continent trees will reemerge in exchange for living on its branches in the world that it's made for them. It's brought up ground and mountains and has a, as you could see in the middle there, a very large, we'll say Mediterranean sized lake with rivers going down, vines that it created so that they could get to the ocean. But they also, being traversal types, go into the tunnels of woe and have bent many of them to their will, allowing them to master multi-world merchants or pirates if you're a less than scrupulous fellow. And in this world, at the time period where the game's going to take place, there's a struggle over who will be the next Doge. The previous Doge, died with no heirs and was maybe assassinated, but that's a mixed bag. And I'm leaning towards 3 to 4 factions. You can play Kingmaker in this. You can, in the right situation, if you're playing the right race, and the right race, because the Veni won't accept anyone but Veni emperors. It's not like the silliness and in Oblivion where an elf takes over the empire. it's I'm sorry. This is silly. It was an empire formed by men. Come on, let's not go crazy. Why would the Nords, for example, why would they ever accept even a stand-in elf to rule over them? Don't be cute. Don't be cute. Come on. I want it to be practical, but I'm already having ideas in the lore where if you could still take part in the quest about the replacement Doge, you just play more of a Merlin role, and you get to be the Merlin instead of the author Arthur if you're playing with the elves. Now, I do have some lore for you guys to read. It I'll leave a link. It I was trying to get it on Royal Road, but Royal Road's giving me a kind of a workaround. It's really annoying. So it'll be on Archaven. Check it out. There's a lot of fun stuff on there, if you know what I mean. And I will be bringing in pieces of lots of different things going on. The upper branches, for example, have more than just the Veni there, and then there's some darker races that are hiding in the trunk of the tree and the deep darkness within, and are coming out of all the tunnels and stuff. And your job will be to deal with the evil taking advantage of the chaos happening around the struggle over the next Doge, and of course all the imperial shenanigans that come into play. I think we'll have some fun with this. Now I want to show it to you. So read it, get into it, get excited for the uniqueness of the tree and the fact that you'll have these moments where you're walking on mountains and you'll look up and you'll see branches stretching into the sky, or you'll get to the edge of the map and rather than an invisible wall, you'll look down and there'll be thousands of feet below you is the ocean. And I'll let you jump off and you will die and it'll be hilarious. I hate invisible walls. They annoy me every single time. So, I hope you guys enjoy this little brief look at the lore and my attempt at making some art. Every time I put this into AI art, it keeps taking the tree element out and just tries to make it a continent. And I don't, it really, the funny thing about being someone who actually comes up with different stuff is the AI can't figure you out because, or can't emulate it properly because it's too new. There's not enough stuff for it to copy off the internet to make something, right? Because all the AI is doing is just copying a bunch of art. It's smashing, connecting, figuring out what people like, which is useful for a man like me with very little artistic skill, as you can see. But it's a pain when you have actual new ideas because it has no frame of reference and can't make it really cool. So, hope you enjoyed this little lore snidbit, little showing of the pitfalls of game dev, and I'll see you next week. I'm debating starting something Wednesday, but that'll have to wait a little bit because that personal stuff, that life stuff needs to get sorted out first. But I hope you enjoyed this little video. Shorts every week too. Remember, you can't complain about something if you're not, well, you can't, but complaining about something without actually making a difference in the world is purposeless. So, that's why I'm here making this video game. This replacement for Elder Scrolls 6. Sorry you had to wait this long to get to that part. Check out our church. Every Sunday we do a sermon. Every Monday we do Sunday school at usually a live stream around 8 o'clock, 8:30. And yeah, let's take back the arts, gentlemen. See you on the other side. RP Grizzly out.